How can the Terps upset Illinois again?
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, video content creator for 247 Sports and InsideMarylandSports.com, and host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. How can the Terps pull off the upset for the second straight time against Illinois? The Terps are at home and have one of their biggest games of the season. And how do we upset this Illinois team? Remember way back when? It feels like kind of a while now, at least to me. Maybe for some of you guys it feels like yesterday. To me, it feels like a little bit pretty long ago that we beat this Illinois team. We beat them when they were the 10th ranked team in the country. They were a very solid team. They had a lot going on. They were definitely one of the better teams in the country. And we beat them on the road, something that we don't usually do. This year, we have been a lot better on the road than I actually thought we would be. We took a step back at home. We're still been very good at home, but we definitely took a step back at home. But we have won some big games on the road. We beat in Iowa on the road. We beat in Illinois on the road. So we have gotten some road wins, which I haven't really been used to as a Maryland fan in the Kevin Willard era, but we have gotten some wins overall on the road. And that's one of the few bright spots I would say on this year, is that we have been able to beat teams on the road, just like when we had our biggest win of the season against this Illinois team when we won 76-67. Definitely our biggest game of the year so far, our biggest win of the year so far. I would say in terms of biggest games, Purdue's probably the biggest one. And I would say this Illinois team is probably the next biggest game in terms of the talent that we're going to play. I would say the games that we would most want to have, even though we're not going to probably be a March Madness team, that's really over, but you still want to accumulate some of these big time wins. It helps in recruiting. This helps to give the program some momentum. It does help winning these types of games. So how do the Terps beat this Illinois team again at home this time, not on the road? So we got the home court advantage, which you would think helps. I would think it helps. I spoke to Jamie Kaiser yesterday. He talked about how it does help playing at home a lot, just because it's easier on yourself because you don't have to travel and all these different things that come with playing on the road. It's a lot easier to play at your home, at your own spot. But there's a big difference in this game. There is a huge difference in this game. A big addition to this Illinois team, a guy that didn't play when we were playing originally, and Terrence Shannon. The last time we played them, he did not play, and this guy is probably Illinois' best player, I would say. They got some don't get me wrong, this Illinois team has some really good players, but this Terrence Shannon kid is probably, in my opinion, their best player, and I think the numbers would back that up. They got some other really good guys, and they got some other guys that could probably be number one scoring options at different spots in the country that we'll also talk about. But Terrence Shannon is back, and I think how do the Terps beat Illinois? I think a lot of it starts with this guy being back and being able to slow him down, because this is what he's done in his last two games. I just looked at their last couple games to get a kind of idea of how he's been doing back, just because I'm not an Illinois fan. I don't follow them as closely. But he's been doing some pretty big things his last couple of games. He had 31 against Michigan, 3 assists and 3 rebounds. So 31 against Michigan. Yes, Michigan's nothing special this year. They're not the best of team, but 31 against Michigan is still 31. A Big Ten opponent. They're not horrible. It's still Michigan, even though they're definitely having a down year, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. But he had 31. 31 is 31. And then against Michigan State, if you want to say that Michigan, they're not very good, Michigan State is on the upper trend of things. Michigan State actually beat Illinois. Michigan State is looking like they might be able to pull into the tournament. He had 28 points against them, so almost 30 points in a loss, and also at 7 rebounds. So he's a good rebounding guard as well. So him being back in the lineup is the biggest difference between the first game against Illinois and this game against Illinois on Saturday at, I think, 5:30. I think that's the biggest difference in this game. And I think we have to limit him to win this game. Limit him somewhat because they have too many guys that can get buckets. If he goes off and then someone else goes off, if Dome Sack, I'll talk about, if he starts going off, then it's like it's really hard to slow this team down. I think you have to limit. You got to limit Terrence Shannon. He can't go for 28. He can't go for 31. I'd say you have to keep him below 20. If he has 18, if he has 17, I think you're in a good spot. But for the Terps to have a realistic shot at beating this Illinois team with Terrence Shannon, I think he has to have at least a mediocre game. If he has 20 points, then it's like I think we're in a good spot. If he is above that 25, 28 against us with the trouble that we have scoring the ball, I think it's hard to beat this Illinois team. So I think you would have to say he would have about you probably want to keep him about 18, 17, 16, 19 points. You can't have him go for above 20. Maybe 22 will be okay. Maybe you can still get the win. But with some of their other guys in their lineup, I think you have to be able to limit him somewhat. Next player I want to talk about is their other guard, other really good player that played a big-time game, had over 20 points against us. Like I said, when I talked to Jamie Kaiser yesterday, he said this guy was one of the hardest players they have played this year in Dome Sack. He's interesting because he's a guard, but he plays kind of an old man's type of games. He definitely can shoot the ball, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, like he likes to post up at the guard position. It's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. But that post-up game he does can sometimes be deadly. Sometimes it's like, okay, some teams send a double to it. Sometimes it won't be like quite in their game plan as much emphasized, but when it's going and when they go to it a lot and when it's working and when he's hitting shots and he's hitting post fadeaways and all these different things, then it's annoying. It's annoying to go against, and it's hard to beat this team when he's in that post game. So you got to limit this guy in the post. I don't know if I love double teaming him because I still think he's going to be able to pass out of it. He is a guard and be able to do some things out of that. But he loves the post up, which I've seen a lot of when I watch Illinois. And I've definitely, like I said, I don't follow them like super closely, but I've watched a good amount of games other than the Maryland games. I've watched Illinois play a good amount of times because they're a good team. They're fun to watch. I like watching the Illinois basketball team play. Props to them, and he loves to post up. So limit his post up. Maybe send doubles if it's killing you, but you can't let that post up game go like crazy on you because if that's going, then it's really hard to beat that team because then you have to start sending doubles, and they're going to be good against double teams. They have shooters. They have different guys that can score the ball off the doubles, and you don't really want to be doing that. But we know Maryland's defense is really good, so I think limiting him in the post, I think that will be – I'm not sure exactly how we match up with them. I think that'll be Deshaun Harris-Smith's matchup maybe or Jameer Young. I don't know who will be guarding Terrence Shannon. I don't know exactly, but whoever's guarding him, and if he's starting to post up, you got to be able to stop him down there, at least limit him. Maybe you're not able to completely stop him, but at least limit those post-ups. Don't let him score a bunch of points on those post-ups because that can really hurt and really hurt the game plan. Their next player, Coleman Hawkins, I thought this was interesting. In the first game, he fouled out, and that made a big difference in the game. He fouled out, and he's a big deal for them down low, and it would help a lot if we've somehow found a way to get him in foul trouble. We had an interesting game plan against him. Kevin Willard, I thought it was a really good game plan because he said, we're not going to let Coleman Hawkins switch everybody and not attack him because he's versatile. He can play a bunch of different positions. He can guard a lot of people. Like he can guard our 5, he can guard our 4, he can guard our 3. He's a really versatile guy. He's an athletic guy. But if you can find a way to get him in foul trouble, that can be a big deal. Usually I wouldn't say that, but just the fact that I know we got him in foul trouble the first game with Julian Reese because he couldn't really handle Julian Reese, and that's another key. Get Julian Reese the ball down low. Some games we don't get Julian Reese the ball down low, but being this Illinois team, I think the key is Julian Reese because especially offensively for us because in the first matchup, Hawkins could not guard Julian Reese. He had a lot of trouble with Julian Reese. Julian Reese is a little bit bigger, and Hawkins had a lot of trouble guarding Julian Reese, and that's part of the reason he was in foul trouble. So I think getting it to Julian Reese early on and getting him down low, I think can really help his team win this game. And my last thing I want to say is Deshaun Harris-Smith is interesting. Last game I said I can't say I need Deshaun Harris-Smith to play well because I didn't think it was that realistic because I hadn't seen him play well consistently yet. But what I saw from him last game against Iowa on the road or at home, I'm going to need that type of game from Deshaun Harris-Smith maybe. Maybe not. We don't need 17 from him, but we might need double-digit scoring. We might need that help scoring to beat this Illinois team, be able to compete with their two guards, Dome Sack and Terrence Shannon, to be able to score with those guys. I think we're going to need Deshaun Harris-Smith to get some buckets overall and get in double digits to release some of the pressure off of Jameer Young. I don't know what Maryland will do with the starting lineup. I don't know if Deshaun will come off the bench again. I don't really know, but I know he'll play a lot, and I need him to look like he did against Iowa again. But that's kind of the keys to the game for me. You got to limit Terrence Shannon somehow. Limit Dome Sack in the post. I think they love that. I think that's a really good set for them. Is that ISO kind of play for him in the post and just let him go to work. And also, I think Julian Reese has to get a lot of touches, and then Deshaun Harris-Smith, of course, I need him to play well. That's just some of the keys for me to win, for the Terps to win this game. What do I think will actually happen? What are my predictions for the game? I will tell you about that after this ad from FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That sounds like a good deal to me. With any winning $5 bet, you can put $5 on anything on FanDuel, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets. You guys got to get FanDuel quick. Even if you don't want to put a ton of money into the account, you can get some free bonus bets that FanDuel will let you have. $150 in bonus bets to play with. That's $150 if your bet wins. And you can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams. Like if you want to bet Steph Curry over on threes, or if you want to bet Kevin Durant over on points, or if you want to combine it and make a parlay. You can do that on FanDuel. You can do so many different things on FanDuel. You can do live same-game parlays. You can do quick bets. You can do exclusive props that only FanDuel has, and more. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, the official partner of the NBA. What are my predictions for this game? It's weird because we beat them once. And so far, the story says if we beat them once, then we might beat them again, like the Iowa game. But I don't think this game's going to be like the Iowa game. I think Illinois wins, which it might be a good thing I'm picking the Illinois to win because last time I chose Iowa to win and they ended up losing. So maybe I'm pretty cold, I feel like, in picking the last couple of games. I forget. I think I got the Ohio State game right, but even that game we should have probably won. I predicted Ohio State to win that game, and then I predicted us to be Rutgers. So I've been pretty cold in on my picks. So it could be a good thing that I'm picking Illinois to win the game. I hope Maryland proves me wrong, which I'll always say when I pick the other team. But this Illinois team is too good to me, and I don't know what Maryland team will show up. Will it be the team we saw in the first matchup against Illinois? Will it be the team that I've seen against Iowa twice, the team that has owned Iowa on the road and at home? Will it be the team that beat Nebraska by 20? I don't know what Maryland team will show up. I don't know, or will it be the bad one where we lose to Rutgers, where we've lost close games to Michigan State, where we have lost to some lesser opponents like Minnesota or way back in the year to UAB or Davidson? What Maryland team is going to show up? And I don't have trust that the good one that I've seen in rare spots is going to show up. And I think one thing for me is I think Willard had great adjustments in the first game against Illinois. He did some really good coaching stuff overall that made it hard on Illinois. But I think this time those adjustments aren't going to work as well because I think that Illinois is going to be prepared for them. And yes, Willard can make more adjustments or whatever. But I just think Illinois is going to be ready for how we attacked them last time. And I think they're going to fix it. They're going to self-scout themselves and see what they had to fix from the last Maryland game. And they're going to fix those things. And we might try those same things again. But I'm just not sure those things will work. That's a big thing because Willard made plenty of adjustments in the first game, plenty of different things defensively and offensively that worked really well in that game. And I'm not 100% certain that that's going to happen again. So I think that overall, those adjustments that we made before aren't going to work as well. And then I also think now we have to deal with Terrence Shannon. That's a problem. Like I read before, he's been going off for about 30 points in the last 2 games. It's really difficult to beat this Illinois team without Terrence Shannon because we already played them without Terrence Shannon, and they've played a lot of games without Terrence Shannon, and they're a pretty good team without them. They were 10. They were holding things down. And we got lucky because we played a game against them without him. But with him in the lineup, it just brings something different that takes it over the top. Like, the glass was kind of already filled. The glass was kind of already filled with water, and now it's kind of drizzling out, and it seems like they're a little bit over the top now with him in the lineup. And yes, they've lost games with him. I'm not saying like they're overpowered and we can't win games, but with him in the lineup, it just brings a little bit more depth. And that's another big reason why I think Illinois wins. I think they're way deeper than us, especially with some of the injuries that we've had. I know Jordan Geronimo had a hand issue. Maddie just got hurt. We've had some injuries overall that has hurt us overall, that has hurt our depth, and we're not a team that has a ton of depth. We don't have a lot of contributors off the bench how it is. We barely usually get bench production, and they probably have guys on their bench that could potentially start for us. If I'm being 100% honest, I think some of their guys off the bench could really play for us, play a lot of minutes for us, potentially start for us. They got some really good players off the bench. I think they're a much deeper team than us. I think they shoot the ball better than us, and I think that goes back to our first matchup. I said this against Iowa, and I was wrong, but Illinois didn't shoot the ball well when we played them the first time. They didn't shoot the ball well from the three-point line. They didn't shoot the ball well overall. I think we got a little bit lucky in that case. I mean, a big part of that is Maryland's defense is really good. We're number 1 in the Big Ten for a reason. But I think Illinois shoots the ball better, especially with Terrence Shannon in the lineup. It's just not going to have as much pressure for guys like Doomsack, for other guys on their team to get going. And that leads me to Doomsack. He's also really tough to play. Him with Terrence Shannon, that's one of the best duos in the Big Ten. That's really hard to match up with at your 2 guard spots. It's really tough to deal with those 2. So I think he's going to be a lot in the game. I think them together is just too much for the Terps. And then Hawkins is a freak. He's so versatile in terms of defensive ability, can block shot. But I do think Julian Reese can have a successful day against him like he did in the first game. But I also know that Hawkins will want to play well against Julian Reese. I honestly just think Illinois has too much for us to beat them, and I don't see Maryland matching up as well as we did in the first matchup overall. I think offensively we could struggle. We've struggled a lot this year offensively at different spots, and I think we could struggle again offensively against this Illinois team. I think they're going to be solid defensively against us because I don't know how hard we are to guard it. I don't know if I can trust guys in our lineup to step up big time, and I just think Illinois is this overall, my point, this all leads me to say Illinois is a better team. And we're at home, yes, but our home crowd advantage right now is next to nothing. And I don't know if people will show up for this game because Illinois is ranked and stuff. Hopefully it'll be a better crowd than Iowa. I mean, it's not going to be on a Wednesday. It's going to be on Saturday. So I guess students won't be in class and all that type of stuff. And people won't have jobs as much and work as much. But it's still not going to be anything crazy. So I don't know how much the home court advantage helps us in this situation. But overall, I think Illinois wins. I'll be interested to see what the spread is. I have to look at that tomorrow. I would guess, if my best guess of the spread would probably be Illinois minus 4, 4.5, 5 maybe. That would be my guess. That could be off. That could be completely wrong. That's my guess of the spread. For Maryland being at home, I think it probably 4 or 5, might be maybe 6. I doubt it's like 2 or 3. I would guess Illinois is pretty heavily, not heavily, but definitely favored by like about 5 or 6. That's kind of my prediction on things. I think Illinois wins. We're going to try something new in the next segment, something that I haven't done before. So make sure you stick around for that after this ad from the Game Time app. Have you ever want to go to a game at the last minute, like a Maryland's Terrapins game, or any of your favorite NFL, NHL, NBA, whatever team you like, but finding tickets is hard? I have been there before many different times. Sometimes finding tickets to the game can be expensive. It can be annoying. It can be hard to find tickets. Buying tickets to your event shouldn't be that stressful, though. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time has deals right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of ticket buying. Right now, all Game Time users get $100 off a big game ticket with code VEGAS100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app and use code VEGAS100 for $100 off the big game ticket. Make sure you guys go check out the Game Time app. We're going to do a start bench cut with all 3 being Maryland Terrapins players. I think I want to do this on Fridays now on, especially as basketball season winds down. There's not always a ton of stuff to talk about. So I'm going to use a start bench cut, either former Maryland players, players in the NFL, players in the NBA. I'm going to do a start bench cut, and this is my opinion. If you have a different one, make sure you leave it down below because I would be interested to see what people have to say. But the 3 players I'm going to do, Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, Deonte Banks, 3 NFL players, 3 of our best NFL players. But there's a twist. This isn't like who has been the best player, because I think that would obviously be Stephon Diggs, and I want this to actually be kind of like interesting. This is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be who of these 3, start bench cut, which of these 3 would you pick to start your franchise with? If you had a draft, have you guys ever done like a fantasy draft on like Madden or anything like that where you can draft anyone in the league? Pretend these are the 3 players on the board. Who would you start? Who would you bench? Who would you cut? Who do you want first? Who do you want second? Who do you want third? Basically. And I have an interesting take on this. I think some people might disagree on this, but I want DJ Moore. I'm starting with DJ Moore because this is the reason why. DJ Moore is a really good player. He had a really good year last year. He had a really good year. He got traded from the Panthers to the Bears, and he had Justin Fields for a lot of the year. But I liked what DJ Moore did last year with 1,364 yards, 8 touchdowns, and that was with Justin Fields getting hurt some and Justin Fields overall. Justin Fields is like I don't know exactly how to state my opinion on Justin Fields. I think he's got a high ceiling, but I don't think their game plan is always just chucking the ball all over the place, and he still puts up 1,364 yards for DJ Moore, especially with a lot of the game plan being on him. I definitely could see defense focusing on him because they didn't have a ton of receiving weapons over there. So for DJ Moore to have 1,364 yards is big time. And I'm going to bench Stephon Diggs. So let me explain why I have DJ Moore over Stephon Diggs. I don't think exactly DJ Moore is better right now than Stephon Diggs, but this is how I see it. I see DJ Moore on the upper trend of things, and I kind of see Stephon Diggs on his prime is kind of passing him by. He was on the upper trend, and now he's kind of hitting a flat slope where he still had a pretty good year. The former Maryland great, had a good year still with 1,183 yards, but it was definitely a down year compared to what he's done. He's definitely, I think, kind of like settled down, and it's definitely plateaued a little bit from how good he was before. I do think he's a really good player, but I do think it has plateaued a little bit from how good he was. But I like DJ Moore because he's 26. Stephon Diggs is 30. So I'm starting DJ Moore. I'm cutting Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is still I'm benching Stephon Diggs. Start, bench, cut. I'm benching Stephon Diggs. and I'm cutting Deonte Banks, I wouldn't mind even starting Deonte Banks because I think Deonte Banks has star power, and I think he's going to be potentially one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL in a couple of years. He has that type of tools. I think he played really good for his first year. He did some really good things overall for the Terps in his first year, but I have to cut Deonte Banks for the reason that he's young and he's not as proven as the other two. I think you guys will have different opinions about that. I just think I would cut Deonte Banks. I think I would start DJ Moore. I just think DJ Moore could potentially do something crazy next year. I saw a lot of flashes from him. He had a couple of huge games, and that was with sometimes playing with a backup quarterback. I just think DJ Moore has a little bit more juice left for the next couple of years rather than Stephon Diggs does. I think Stephon Diggs definitely is on. I just really think Stephon Diggs, he's been an awesome player, but he's 30 years old. He's starting to hit that spot where you slow down a little bit. You don't have the same first step. You don't have any of those same things. And Stephon Diggs has never been like an elite level of an athlete, but he's still going to lose a step. And he's still going to be a really good player, but DJ Moore, I think, is hitting that prime and where he's really starting to figure things out. He's got his home in Chicago. So I think that's how I would do it. Start DJ Moore, cut Stephon Diggs. I keep saying cut second. Bench Stephon Diggs, cut Deonte Banks, just because Deonte Banks hasn't proven it. But come back after next year, it might change. That's just a little bit of a segment I want to do to end shows maybe on Fridays or something. Let me know if you guys like that kind of thing. But that's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball, so make sure you like and subscribe. But thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.